Right now, Congressman Mark Pocan is on the line with us, a U.S. Congressman from the 2nd District of the great state of Wisconsin. His website, Pocan, Pocan.house.gov. Congressman, welcome back to the program.
Oh, thanks, Tom.
You are, one of the more outspoken, I'm not sure is the outspoken, well-spoken, well-known progressives in the House of Representatives. And I'm curious, what's your take on where things are at right now with regard to the United States, Russia, Syria, the UN, all this stuff that's unfolding before us. And if you don't mind, I'm curious what your take was 3 or 4 days ago before these new developments happened.
Sure. Well, I've been to, I think, 3 of our classified briefings or calls with the White House as we looked at this issue. And I was troubled, as were, I think, some of the other progressives, that, there really wasn't a compelling national security interest to many of us for us to get involved. I think we still had a lot of questions about what the end game was, what could happen if we did a military strike. A lot of us wanted to know what options were out there besides a military strike, where we were when building international support for some kind of a response, maybe other than a military strike. So, I have been saying publicly I did not support what the president was proposing. However, I think, as we all know, in the last 24 hours, it seems like every hour things change a little bit with the new proposal that's out there, that at least there seems to be interest, verbally anyway, from Syria on the Russian proposal to get rid of chemical weapons. It sounds like they're willing to sign the treaty. It sounds like a lot is moving, and I think that this is a good thing. And from what I'm understanding, everyone's kind of on hold now to vote for a military strike, and I think that's a good thing. Let's see where this can go. This is exactly, I think, the sort of response we were hoping for that would happen, getting an international community response that didn't involve a military strike, and now we're just anxious and hopeful that this will turn into something good.
President of Russia had a conversation with some reporters just, I guess, earlier today. This is reported in the New York Times just an hour or so ago. And I'm looking through this for the context of where and when he spoke. It doesn't say. But anyway, here's what he says. Undoubtedly, all this makes sense and can work only if we hear that the American side and those who support the United States in this sense rule out the use of force, because it is difficult to make any country, Syria or any country, any other government in the world, unilaterally disarm if the use of force is being prepared against it. And so he's taking, Russia's taking that position. He added, and I thought this was a revelation. I mean, a pretty remarkable thing for the president of Russia to be saying. He noted that Syria had a certain arsenal of chemical weapons, and that the Syrians have always, quoting Putin, the Syrians have always regarded it as an alternative to the nuclear weapons in Israel, end of quote. But they're willing to give that up. And that's, I think, pretty remarkable. Now, on the other hand, you've got Chuck Hagel and John Kerry, who today both said, Mr. Kerry said the use of force absolutely should not be off the table, and Hagel said for this diplomatic option to have a chance of succeeding, the threat of U.S. military action must continue to be very real and credible, the Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel. So we've got the Russians and the Americans saying 2 completely different things about how they're going to meet in the middle. What are your thoughts on all that?
I think this is kind of a chicken and egg sort of debate. I mean, I think the White House and John Kerry and others have saying the reason they're at the table is because we threaten force, and you've got Russia saying, if you threaten force, I can't have this reasonable approach happen. So, they're going to have that conversation. What I really hope is that, as I understand, we're not moving forward with a vote right now because this is on the table, and this is exactly, I think, what many of us had hoped. There'd be an international community response that wasn't a military strike, that dealt with chemical weapons. And since we were told that this is to deal with chemical weapons, this seems like a strong solution if everyone plays in good faith, as the conversation I think right now is that we've been having unfold throughout the last 24 hours. It's a really good solution that we don't have to get involved in a civil war with a military strike that's a unilateral or largely unilateral strike, with us being the world's policemen, and we don't have to worry about what some of the other ramifications could be from doing that and what could happen to those chemical weapons otherwise. So I think, we're all on hold. That's what I hear is happening here. Granted, everything evolves almost hourly today, Tom. But I think there's some real positiveness in this, and I'm looking forward to hear the president talk tonight.
Back in '62, Jack Kennedy was asked what he would do if Cuba was arming up. And, of course, the way that he won the 1960 election was by accusing Nixon of being soft on communism and letting Cuba go communist, which happened when Nixon was vice president. And for the first 2 years of the Kennedy administration, Nixon was out running around along with the John Birch Society and the rest of the Republican Party, claiming that Kennedy was soft on Cuba, on communism. And so Kennedy made this offhand remark in a press conference that if Cuba armed up, he would basically kick their butts. And then a week or two later, he made a formal statement. Here's just the first 15 seconds of it, just so you get a sense of it.
If at any time the communist buildup in Cuba were to endanger or interfere with our security in any way, including our base at Guantanamo, our passage to the Panama Canal, our missile and space activities at Cape Canaveral, or the lives of American citizens in this country, or if Cuba should ever attempt to export its aggressive purposes by force or the threat of force against any nation in this hemisphere, or become an offensive military base of significant capacity for the Soviet Union, then this country will do whatever must be done to protect its own security and that of its allies.
And that was largely, and he went on to say, and as president, I have the authority to order it. He had kind of made his own red line comment, and then he had to amplify it. The president made his red line comment about Syria and the chemical weapons. Kennedy's led to the Cuban Missile Crisis. And isn't this now preventing a Cuban Missile Crisis equivalent if we can work this thing out?
If we can work this out, I think this is a...
And do you see those same parallels?
Yeah, I think, we've been talking about this on the floor, some of us just today, actually, with this very issue. I just see some great opportunity if this is a sincere proposal, and if we go into it with the sincerity that I think, if everyone goes into it with that kind of a sincerity, we've got a pretty good solution, I think, to look at, and I think that's what we're all watching. I was at a meeting this morning that, believe it or not, Rand Paul put together to try to talk about how in a bipartisan way we can make sure that we're not going to war.
Yeah.
And I think that's where many of us had a concern that could be a logical place this could perhaps go into. This solution, I think, could solve everyone's problems, and I hope that everyone is really serious about their efforts in it.
Are you concerned? I've been saying for some time I am concerned. I'll just tell you up front that a U.S. strike on Syria could be an Archduke Ferdinand moment.
There's a lot of questions. Every single briefing I've been to or phone call I've been to with the White House, I've left with more questions, and a lot of them were around what's the end game, what could happen, and I think a lot of us are afraid that what could it escalate to if this happens and you take we do a strike. What if someone else gets control of the chemical weapons? There's just so many questions that we had, and again, this is the solution, right? Everyone said we're here to get rid of the chemical weapons.
Right.
If we can get someone else to sign, another country to sign it, and to get rid of the chemical weapons, that's a big victory for the international community.
It really is, because if we took out Assad and Al Qaeda takes control of the chemical weapons and they throw them at Israel, and then Israel nukes Syria, and then Iran nukes Israel, and then we're in World War I all over again.
We definitely have boots on the ground, and that's what we don't want.
Yeah. Congressman Mark Pocan from the 2nd District of Washington, pocan.house.gov. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tom.
Great talking with you.
Bye.